Welcome to another episode of Times Square Kung Fu. I'm out of poverty. I got a new beast of a PC, 64 gigs of RAM, all that good joint, man. I am your host, Frankie Balboa, aka the Shogun Supreme.
And I'm Peter Glagowski, Associate Editor over at Flixus. Today we're going to be talking about two new releases from Radiance Films. Firstly, 18 Years in Prison. Oh man, look at that sexy cover. And then Tchao Pantin, which is a French film and is a hard-boiled crime thriller.
Yeah, it was a first-time watch for both of us. MVD, once again, shout out to MVD Entertainment Group. The guy was like, yo, you gotta check this out. This is a Frankie type film because I have a mustache now.
With a me type ending.
Yeah, and the first thing I told Peter, oh, we gotta see this, bro. This is a Peter ending. So sit back and relax. This is gonna be an amazing episode because we're gonna do more of these dual reviews, man, because we're swamped right now. We're catching up, man. Let's get into it. Now, the first one we're going to review is 18 Years in Prison, directed by Tai Kato.
The man.
And, yo, me and Peter been on a dive with his director thanks to Radiance Films, and he has become one of my favorite Japanese directors. I mean, the stuff that we have seen so far, he has been knocking out of the park. But we're going to talk about this film specifically. But this director, the way he shoots his films, it is ridiculous. But we're going to talk about 18 Years in Prison. So, Peter, let him know.
18 Years in Prison is sort of a character study, and it follows a character played by Noboru Ando. The synopsis is that a former soldier is caught working the black market and sent to prison while his partner escapes and goes on to become a gangster. But their paths cross again as they both fall in love with the same woman. That's essentially it. The movie is more about Ando's time in prison and the way that he deals with this shift in lifestyle. Throughout the film, you're going to see some very creative cinematography, shots that I have no idea how they were accomplished in the 60s, and just a general sleazy vibe since this is also a crime thriller. There's also a surprise appearance by everyone's favorite, Tomisaburo Wakayama. In every movie we watch.
One thing that I kept mentioning to Peter, besides me going, oh my God, the shots, I keep forgetting we were watching a prison film.
In a lot of ways, this is more of a slice of life movie in that sense, but it's not as lackadaisical. There is some kind of a plot because you do see these dueling. One of the main storylines is that this young kid gets in and he happens to be the brother of Ando's love interest. The love interest is played by Hiroko Sakuramachi, and Ando's big trouble here is that during the war he sent people off to die as kamikaze pilots, and he obviously has guilt over that. And this young kid, his older brother, was one of those. So, you know, he doesn't outright tell the kid, and it causes this conflict of how do we resolve these issues when, you know, I'm trying to do better.
Yeah, and also the actor Noboru Ando. I am freaking tired.
Noboru Ando, yeah.
Noboru Ando, wow. Noboru Ando, the actor. He's been in a lot of Tai Kato films. What's interesting about him, I think I forgot to tell you this, is that he's a real-life Yakuza. So he has a very famous scar on his face. He got that when he was a young kid or a teenager when he got into a fight with a Korean gangster. So he brought a lot of his Yakuza experience into these films, and he's been in a ton of Yakuza films.
Yeah, you see the scar prominently in a few scenes here, and I thought it was something from the movie, but that's interesting.
No, because he was in one of Tai Kato's movies that I told you I need to show you. By a Man's Face Shall You Know Him? And I told you, he's like Wong Fei Hong in this. He's a doctor. Korean gangsters are freaking taking over the joint. And he's like, you know what? Forget this peaceful joint. I'm going to put some order into this. But in this film, the way he is in prison, it's a film that I keep bringing up a lot, especially with the young kid and the way he keeps his morals and ethics. It's almost like Shawshank Redemption with the characters throughout this film.
I could see that, and I mean, the guy's not wrongly accused. He did steal and get caught, but yeah, there's sort of that edge where like he's not necessarily a hardened criminal. You know, he was a war veteran and he just fell on hard times because the economy in Japan after World War II was shit.
And yeah, you see that brought up throughout the film about, you know, doing right for the people and Japan as a whole. And you see like who's there for you or not. And there's some betrayal in there because he's trying to look out for his people on the outside. And that's when the conflict in this film starts boiling up. And overall, this film is fantastic, and it has a great tempo and the way it flows. The film is structured, and you actually give a damn about the characters. There was a freaking scene towards the end that we were like, this is some Yakuza shit right here. Overall, I highly recommend this film. It looks freaking amazing. Soundtrack is awesome, and the acting is through the freaking roof, man. Peter, what do you say?
It seems Tai Kato just doesn't miss with his films. So yeah, I would recommend it. I don't think it's as great as maybe Eye the Executioner. It's still very, very good. For a late 60s prison film, it's impressive on a technical scale, and just the scope of its story is very engrossing. So yeah, I would recommend it.
And once again, those shots. There's a fight when he's in prison with the cameras under the table and the way he's freaking panning. Oh, man.
But there's one in like the middle. It reminded us of the Alcatraz scene in The Rock, which happened like 30 years later.
Let's stop. Let's not spoil this, man, but we highly recommend it. We're going to put the link in the description and where you guys could pick that up. And now, what are we going to talk about next, Peter?
We're going to talk about Tchao Pantin.
Now, this film, like I mentioned in the intro, I messaged Peter right away. I had no idea. I have no clue. I didn't know about this film. And once I started watching the film, Peter knows I have a thing. If the music hits right away and it's really good, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a banger. And I have not missed, Peter, right? I have not missed.
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't miss, bro. I don't miss. I'm like those shooters in the Olympics, man. Yeah. Now, one thing that I want to say before Peter gets into the synopsis of this film is that if you love early Michael Mann films,
yeah,
this film brings the freaking vibes. And two, after I finished watching the movie, I looked up information and I was like, get the hell out of here. This was 1983. The restoration on this is one of the best I've seen this year. It's ridiculous, man. But Peter, let him know.
For people that want to have an easier time looking it up, the English title is So Long Stooge, but I think that name is kind of shit, to be honest. So, Tchao Pantin. In the 18th arrondissement of Paris, Lambert, an aloof garage manager working the night shift at a petrol station, spends his time drinking on the job, content in his own company. One night, Ben Susan, a small-time drug pusher in dire straits, falls in on a stolen moped pretending to need a spark plug. The two men develop an unlikely friendship. That description kind of sells it short, because the film is definitely about a lot more. I don't necessarily want to spoil that aspect, but yes, it begins as just an unlikely kind of odd couple pairing. I wouldn't say it's a comedy per se, although the main actor, whose name is just Kalush, he was a comedic actor. And I'm guessing this movie in particular was a big turning point for him, although he sadly passed away 3 years after the movie came out. Regardless, it has an unassuming beginning because you think it's going to be about this old curmudgeon guy meeting a younger dude who helps him get out of his funk. And I mean, I suppose that's what happens, but the movie's a hard-boiled crime thriller, so it definitely takes some interesting turns.
Definitely some interesting turns. And the synopsis in what Radiance included, and I'm gonna summarize it, basically is that they develop a friendship and things go left, and homeboy carries on the beef because the kid is a drug dealer, and you get it right away in the beginning of the film that he's a pusher.
Yeah, at first I thought he was just pushing stolen merchandise, but it doesn't matter because that's not the point. The point is that the two of them find some kind of common ground, and there's maybe a sort of father-son bonding going on, but
which is something that's established in the beginning once they get to know each other, because I think when they meet up at the bar after his job, they have a conversation when he gets to know him. You know, when he tells him more about himself, about he's adopted and his life, how he went about it, and he asked him like, why you don't have it easy with your uncle that owns these chains of restaurants? And he replies, I want to prove it that I could do it on my own. They both have a void, but we don't know a lot about, Pantin. We don't. We just know he's there for him.
It should be noted too that the kid he starts taking interest in, Ben Susan, I mean, his first name is Yusef, so it's uncertain if he's Arabian or, he's Middle
Jewish.
Eastern at the least.
Yeah.
So there's already that element there that there's the racism of the time, since this is set in the early 80s. And just being a foreigner in Paris, it's not particularly welcome, so he's already been pushed into this messy lifestyle.
No, absolutely. And what makes this film great is you see a lot of the viewpoint from the gas station because he lives close by. So you see a lot of traffic going on. You see him give him advice about women,
With an amazing transition, by the way.
With an amazing transition. And you see, Yusuf going through his daily life as a pusher and how that boils over to the shop because that's his sanctuary.
Yeah.
And eventually the film takes a very, very dark turn that it becomes very fascinating because you know when you're watching the film, I don't say it's a slow burn, it's intriguing because very atmospheric and you're curious. We already know about Yusuf and the characters he deals with, but this man right here, what is his deal? And as the characters start being more prominent, the surrounding characters, you forget that the film you saw in the beginning ever happened.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like it's two halves of the same coin and that it evolves over time. But as I said before, I don't necessarily want to spoil it because that aspect of the movie is what draws you in. I know if I laid it all out, we could discuss the themes better and whatnot, but this isn't. This isn't an in-depth review.
Yeah, we one thing that we like to do with our reviews is we don't like to spoil stuff. We like to give you little trinkets, but in the case of this film, the second half, it's freaking like, what the hell?
I will say the female lead, played by Agnes Sorrell, she develops as a character into something that I wasn't aware was going to be so integral, because during their conversations at the beginning about women, they kind of throw around some negative language, and I thought, well, maybe the movie's just gonna have her as a bit character, and that's certainly not the case.
Yeah, no, she was freaking amazing in the movie, and Peter got to realize apartments look like crap out there, but every apartment we saw,
every apartment, there's like one building in the movie that looks kind of decent.
Yeah, but that's whatever, bro. But overall, man, if you like Michael Mann films, because this feels like a Michael Mann film, and also we noticed something, we could see a lot of scenes in this film that inspire, The Professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You see a lot of scenes there, even to the point that Peter was calling out frame by frame. It was freaking insane. This definitely was quite a surprise. I highly recommend this joint. Like, seriously, the music has this dark synth wave, synthesized horror element to it. The film is beautiful. This restoration is gorgeous.
You can really see how shitty the apartments are.
Oh yeah, but highly recommend it. We got more reviews coming out. Peter, let's wrap this amazing episode up.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and pick these movies up from MVD Entertainment Group.
Yeah, I already know, man. Peace.